So I usually don't make these kind of videos, but this has been on my mind for a while, and really no other Call of Duty has entertained me other than Black Ops 3 like Ghost did. So I figured, why not make a video on why I thought Call of Duty Ghost was a good game, and then explain to you guys why I think we need a Ghost 2. So I guess I'll start off with the bad things about Ghost. I think the main thing that most people disliked about the game was the time to kill, and I can agree with that. It was way too fast, and you would get drained very quickly, especially with how good the hit detection was on all the weapons. This was something that a lot of people couldn't get used to, and me personally, it was really easy for me to adapt to that and change my playstyle. Really, I just had to play slower and plan who I wanted to pick fights with, and it never really became a huge problem to me, but I can see why people disliked it. I also think this is one of the main things that impacts a Call of Duty in a negative way. Every time that a Call of Duty tries to experiment with a new time to kill, it always ends up going badly. Players don't like when you change something that originally had nothing wrong with it, and this promotes the players to hate the game even more when the developers don't fix it. And that kind of brings me into my next topic of the developers not listening to the community. It seemed like up until Ghost, the Call of Duty developers did a good job of listening to their players and changing the things that the players wanted to be changed. The players tried to get used to the time to kill, but it just wasn't something that they were used to and they really didn't enjoy. And everyone complained about it, yet Infinity Ward did nothing. That's going to cause you to lose a lot of players, and I think that's exactly what happened with Call of Duty Ghost. I'm all up for Call of Duty experimenting on new ways to revolutionize their game, but when the community speaks, you need to listen, because these are the players that are playing your game, and they're the ones that are buying it and investing in it, and they're telling you what's wrong with the game and what they don't like about it. Another thing that many people disliked about the game were the maps. Many people thought that the maps were way too big, and that's another thing that I can agree with. The map size and layout made it very hard to find other players, and made it hard to get high kill games. The larger map size and the low time to kill made a lot of people want to camp. This slowed the game down a lot and made many matches very boring. I would get occasional 60 to 80 kill games here and there, but that was really only on one map, and that was Strike Zone because of how small it was compared to the other maps. But I never got over 100 kills, and I think that was due to the map size and the pace of the game. The pace of the game was something that I personally disliked about Call of Duty Ghost, and I'm sure many other people did as well, because we were coming off a game like Black Ops 2 that had small maps that were very fast paced, and we weren't used to playing things slow, so it was a huge difference going into Ghost, and I think that added on to the negative feedback that Ghost was receiving. I've grown to like fast-paced games over the years, and for Infinity Ward to slow down the pace of the game like that, it made it a little less appealing. Another thing that a lot of people disliked about Ghost was the perk system. This is one that I thought was a little bit weird, because personally I thought that the perk system was really good in Ghost. I think the wide selection of perks gave you a variety to choose from, and enabled you to strategically pick your perks based on your playstyle. I also like how each perk accounted for a certain amount of points, the lowest being 1 and I believe the highest being 5. It made you think about if you really needed each perk that you were choosing. The graphics on Call of Duty Ghost weren't the best, but I thought that they were exceptionally good for their time. Since around that time the next gen consoles had just started to come out, I feel like Infinity Ward didn't have enough time to experiment with the new consoles and see what they could do, so they didn't really have time to really upgrade the graphics as much as they probably wanted to. Many people disliked this and thought that there wasn't much of a difference between the old gen consoles and next gen consoles in terms of graphics, and that's something that I can agree on. It seemed like the upgrade from old to new was pretty much just a lighting change. Though it did look sharper than the older gen consoles, there wasn't much that set it apart from them. Many players also disliked the color scheme of Call of Duty Ghost. Everyone thought that it was too dull, but that's something that I have to disagree on, because the whole theme of the game was dull. You know, it was a post-apocalyptic era, and it was supposed to represent a gritty type feeling, so I thought that the dull colors complemented that pretty well. And lastly, it seemed like many players hated on the dynamic features on the different maps. These dynamic features weren't the best, but I think Infinity Ward was just trying to test the waters, because they saw what other games were doing and how well received it was that they thought that they might try it out. If they had a second chance to do it, they might have been able to perfect it. So now moving on to the good things about Call of Duty Ghost. First I want to talk about the campaign or story mode. I thought the story on Call of Duty Ghost was pretty good, especially compared to the more recent Call of Duty titles. It was a new story with fresh characters and tried something that no other Call of Duty had done at the time, with a post-apocalyptic theme. It did a really good job of adding depth to each character's background, and it was interesting to see how having a family connected to the main protagonist impacted the story. The level design in this campaign was really good and changed a lot from mission to mission. This kept the campaign entertaining and made it less repetitive. Additionally, this story left players at one of the biggest cliffhangers in Call of Duty history, leaving many to wonder what comes next. Another thing that I personally enjoyed about Call of Duty Ghost was the chem strikes. I've always been a big fan of the nuke kill streaks in previous Call of Duties, and the pace of the game in Call of Duty Ghost made it even more of a challenge to obtain. Even though I only ended up getting about 13 chem strikes, it was still entertaining to go for, and it was fun testing out the different customizations and guns and perks that I could use to obtain the chem strike. Another thing that I liked about Call of Duty Ghosts was the DLCs. The DLC maps weren't bad, and I think that Infinity Ward started to listen to their community when it came to map design, because a lot of the DLC maps were a lot smaller and more colorful than the original maps. They also added really cool characters such as Michael Myers and the Predator, as well as bringing back remastered fan favorite maps and introducing new DLC weapons. I think the main reason that the DLCs weren't appreciated as much as they should have been is because almost half of the player base had already quit the game after the second DLC dropped, so there weren't many players left that were interested in buying the DLC. In my opinion, the cosmetics in Call of Duty Ghosts were actually really good. The skins were simple and not too over the top, and they also used characters from previous games. The skins were also set at a reasonable price, with most of the regular skins costing $199 and the legendary skins costing $399. But with the legendary skin, you would get the skin itself, a camo, a background, and a banner. So it was really more than just a skin itself. It was really a bundle. So the prices were definitely good, especially when you compare it to a game like Fortnite that charges $8 for their cheapest skin. Another thing that I thought was really good about Call of Duty Ghosts was the gun selection. Every gun felt pretty balanced, and there wasn't really any guns that stood out that I can think of other than the Honey Badger. But even the Honey Badger wasn't too far ahead of the other guns. Most of the guns in Call of Duty Ghosts were new and had never been used before in any other Call of Duty. And every gun was pretty sufficient when it came down to gun battles against players using different weapons. But while I'm on the topic of gun battles, I do want to point out that flinching in Call of Duty Ghosts was really bad. You would flinch so bad that it was hard to aim, and a lot of the time you couldn't even see the other player. But back to the good things about Ghost, another thing being kill streaks. The kill streaks in Call of Duty Ghosts were really good, especially the low to mid tier kill streaks. The IMS and Sentry Gun were really good and helped a lot when you were trying to loop streaks. I wish the SATCOM was replaced by a UAV, and I think some of the higher tier kill streaks should have been replaced with maybe an AC-130 or something like that. But besides that, I really have no complaints when it comes to kill streaks. The Specialist kill streak was really good when it came to Chem Strikes, and I think the new perk system really helped with that a lot because it gave you the option to have more perks in your Specialist bonus. And lastly, I really liked the clan battles that was introduced in Call of Duty Ghosts. It was always fun to compete in them, and I thought it was a good way to help players earn free rewards from competing. It definitely promoted competition within the community, and it was a good way to keep the community entertained because it was definitely a grind to level up your clan and try and keep your clan on top. So why do we need a Ghost 2? Obviously, the first thing would be the continued storyline. Like I said earlier, Infinity Ward left us at one of the biggest cliffhangers in Call of Duty history, and the story needs to be finished. With Call of Duty progressively getting worse over the years, and Black Ops 4 completely tossing out the campaign, we need a Call of Duty that goes back to its roots and makes a quality game and doesn't just focus on the money. Coming off of a game like Black Ops 2 that many players believe is the best Call of Duty ever made, Call of Duty Ghosts didn't really have a chance to live up to all the hype surrounding it because of all the new things they were trying to add to the game. Infinity Ward hit rock bottom with Infinite Warfare, and I think instead of just immediately releasing Modern Warfare 4 as a money grab, I think that Infinity Ward should try and build back up with a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 and earn their fan base back, and then later on think about releasing Modern Warfare 4 and not try to ruin the series. Call of Duty Ghosts itself was an experimental game. Infinity Ward was starting fresh and wanted to try new things, but when they received mostly hate from the community, they decided to toss the game. I think with some minor tweaks to gameplay mechanics and map size, as well as a continued storyline and solid DLC or cosmetics, Call of Duty Ghosts 2 could be a viable option for the next 2019 COD title. If you disagree with anything, be sure to let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more.